Hi, this is Julie with Beadaholique, and I want to show you how to do this bracelet, which I'm actually going to make a companion piece to it in the form of a collar necklace. But I finished the bracelet first, and then as I was about to start the collar, I decided, I really wanted to do a video showing the different techniques here. So this video is going to be long. It's going to show you how to do all the different things to make this particular design. And like I said, I'm going to do a collar versus the bracelet, but it'll be the same exact technique for the bracelet. For this project, you're going to need 6 different types of beads, and I have them all in black because I think it's really stunning in black. So I've got little Miyuki delicas, size 11-0. I've got some bugle beads, 6mm bicones, 4mm bicones, 3mm Czech glass rounds, and 2.5mm glass round beads. You're going to need more beads than what you see here of each style, but these are the 6 different types of beads you need to make this design. And if you go to beadaholique.com, you follow the links in this video, you'll be able to pull up the actual project full ingredient list for the bracelet and then also for the collar that we're going to make, and that'll show you exactly how many beads of each you're going to need. But I want to show you the different techniques in this video. You're also going to need some Wildfire thread. I'm using black and it's size 0.008, and I did the 0.008 versus the 0.006 to give it some body and structure to it because I wanted it to be able to stand up a little bit better. So those are the supplies you're going to need, and then you're going to need a needle. I have a size 12 and a pair of scissors. So I'm going to start by making this main band, and this is just right angle weave, which we do have another video for, but I just want to show you how to do it because I do something a little different where I add 3 round beads and then a bicone up top. So I'm going to show you how to do that. So in a project like this, especially since we're doing a collar versus the bracelet, just count on needing to add more thread as you go. So work with a comfortable length. I'm working with probably about 48 inches here. That's what I'm really comfortable working with. If you are comfortable working with more, cut yourself some more. If you're comfortable with less, cut yourself a little less. Just know you're going to have to tie off your thread and add more as you go for a project like this. And we have a video on beadaholique.com showing you how to do that. So I just threaded my needle, and now I'm just going to find a little stopper bead. Just have this little spare pink one on my table. Thread that on to begin with. And make a simple knot. And now this is a knot I can easily just pull out later. You'll see it just slides. But I want to leave a tail, and that's going to be long enough for me to rethread that tail back onto my needle in the end and weave that tail into my beadwork. So 6-inch tail or so is going to be more than fine. So we're just going to start with right angle weave. So we're going to pick up 1, 2, 3 of my 3mm round beads, and then we're going to pick up 1 4mm bicone. Slide that down to the stopper bead, and now go back through, but in the opposite direction of the first bead you strung on. So I just made a little loop. So now I'm going to go back through my other 2 round beads, 1, 2, and I want to show you the pattern we're trying to create. You'll see in here. So we've got all these little round beads, and then in the middle we've got the bicones, and then at the top we have the round beads again. So that's what we're wanting to create. So to do that, we're going to need another bicone to go right beside what will be beside the one we already added. So now we're adding a bicone, and since we've already got this 1 bead here, we need 2 more, so 2 more rounds because you're making little clusters of 4. Go back through your bead, like so. So now we're making a chain. So now we need to get our thread over to this bead. So we're just going to do that by going back through our bicone. Our thread's still not where we want it, so we got to go through one more bead. And now we're where we want to be. So we're just going to see what our pattern needs, and now we need the round beads on the bottom and the bicone up top. And again, we only need to add 3 because we've got our 4th already. So 1, 2, 3. Pull it down. Now go through one of your round beads. And I'm working on tension as I go. You might see me just kind of pull the beads down a little bit, just make sure they're nice and tight in there. And now go through one more bead, and now our thread is where we want it again. And this time we need to add a bicone, followed by 2 more round beads, and pull. And this is just basic right angle weave, sometimes referred to as raw. You'll just see the initials RAW in caps, and that's what people are referring to with this bead weaving stitch. All right, I'm going to do one more so you get the idea. And you're going to keep doing this for however long you want your necklace or your bracelet to be. So that's what we've got. So you'll see. If you're doing a bracelet, you might do it about 6 inches, 7 inches. Note that the particular clasp in this project will add about 1/2 inch to your design. So if you want a 7-inch bracelet, make this length 6.5 inches. So I've actually already sped ahead a little bit because I want to now show you how to do the top row. So go ahead, bead that as long as you want it to be. And when you're done, you're going to end up with something like this. And you're going to notice over here towards the end, I've added another thread, and I haven't taken care of my tails yet. I like to actually do that at the very end. So I've just continued, I added a new thread and I just continued along my way. And now I have this nice long thread that I can put a needle on. So let me show you how to do the second row of right angle weave on this piece. And one note before you go up top to the next row, you want to do a little bit of thinking ahead. So if you look at the way this pattern is, we've got these diagonals of the bugle beads. And in order to do that and have it look all neat and end nice with a bugle bead on each end, you have to make them connect to the units of 4 different round beads at the bottom. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's like a cluster that gives you that nice even look to it. So you'll see, so there was 4, there's 4, there's 4. And at the very end, you only need 3. So what you're gonna wanna do is when you think you have the length you want, you're gonna count your beads. So there's a cluster of 4, there's a cluster of 4, cluster of 4, cluster of 4. Do that for the entire length. If you end up needing to add one more, add one more. If you need to take one away, you can just pull out your beadwork and take one away so that you end up with 4s until the very end where you need 3. So once you've determined that, let's go ahead and jump up and make our second row of right angle weave. So I'm just going to thread my needle. My thread exited right where it would have been perfect if I was going to go ahead and add more along this stretch, but that's not what I want to do. I want to go up to the next row. So I'm going to go ahead, put my needle now back through the bicone. And you can tie these off now if you want, if they bother you and are in the way. Totally a preference thing. I just like to do it at the end. So now I need another cluster up top. And since I've already got the bicone, which is going to be my first bead, I need 3 round beads. Go back through the bicone because I want to make a loop. And there we go. So now I'm going to go back through one of my beads along the side. I want to make the second cluster, and if you look at this, you can probably tell you already now have 2 beads of your next cluster of 4. So we only have to add 2 more round beads. I added 2. I'm going through my bicone because we want to make nice little loops. And now I need to get my needle back over here. So I'm just going to go around my beadwork. And again, we're just going to make a cluster of 4. So we got to go through the bicone again. So those are our first 2 beads. I'm just going to do this one more, and then you can get the idea, and then you'll just bead along the entire length. So 2 more beads. There you go. Go back through your bicone. And you need that to exit where you can work with it. There you go, and you'll just keep doing that all the way along the length of it. You can see that's what you've got, and then that's what's going to end up like. So I'm going to take a pause, I'm going to finish this, and then I'll come back and I'm going to then show you how to add the bugle beads. I finished my second row of right angle weave, and this is what we've ended up with, which is actually quite pretty on its own, but I do want to add the embellishments. So for this next step, you're going to need your bugle beads and your 2.5 millimeter round beads. And I did not have enough thread to continue on just doing it with the thread that I used for this part of the project, so I'm going to have to start a new thread. But if you do have a thread that is still a good length, go ahead and work it in to your beadwork so that you exit this end bead right here, or on the other side right here. But since I don't have that, and I tied off the rest of my threads that were short, just have a little cleaner look. I left this one, I don't know if I'm going to use it at the end, we'll just see, but it's not a big deal if you want to tie that one off now too. So again, I cut just a length that I'm comfortable with, and I'm going to want to exit right here. So I'm going to work my thread into my beadwork so that I do exit right there. So I got to kind of look at this and be like, okay, if I want to exit here, I'm going to come around here, up here, down here. So I'm going to start here. You can kind of trace your thread paths to figure out where you need to start. And again, we do have a video on how to add a new thread and tie off your old ones. I'm going to leave a tail that's long enough to work back into my beadwork later. And I'm just tracing my steps. And I didn't knot that, but it's actually pretty secure. So that's gonna give me the tension I want. And I'm exiting where I need to exit. So now what we're going to do is we're gonna add our bugle beads. So I'm going to take one bugle, one 2.5 millimeter round, and another bugle bead. And I'm just going to skip over one of my lower hanging 3 millimeter bugles and go into my beadwork. Like so. And now I'm just going to go through some of my beadwork. It's all about just positioning your needle and thread where you want it so that I exit one of my down facing. Only work with as much thread as you are comfortable with, because you really will need to add more as you go. So like I probably cut a little too much here. And now it's getting a little tangled, but it's just a matter of being patient, working that out. Okay, so when I said downward facing, I meant the hole itself was facing down, and these here are facing sideways. So you can refer to it however you like, but this is kind of a made-up stitch. That's why I wanted to do a video on it so that you could see how to do it. But I'm just picking up now another bugle, another little round bead, and another bugle bead, skipping over one of these lower hanging ones, and going up through another bead along the edge here, and pulling. So I'm just making these little drops. I'm going to do the same thing one more time, and then I want you to go ahead and do the entire length the same exact way. So again, I need my needle to exit. And I see I got a little tail right here. This is from where I worked in a previous thread. Let's see. And I can just trim that with a scissor or a thread zapper at the end. Not a big deal. Another bugle. Oops, got a little different type of seed bead in there. And a small Czech glass and another bugle. And again, go up through one of these along the edge, just like so. You want that round bead to kind of be at the bottom. There you go. And I'm just going to continue along the entire edge, and then I'm going to show you how to join these together so that they end up with this great diagonal pattern. We're getting there with this necklace, so we've added all of our bugle beads, and now we need to join them together in nice little points to get the diagonal effect we want for this design. So what you need to do at this point is you need to see what length of thread, how much thread you have left on your needle, because what I want you to be able to do is I want you to be able to do, it'll be easiest to see on here, go all the way through here to connect all your bugle beads and do your little trim here as well with a single length of thread. It's not impossible to do it, having to add thread, but it's going to be easier if you have a single length. So even though I've got some thread left here, I'm going to stop with this thread. I will incorporate that into my beadwork later, and I'm going to grab another thread. And I want it to definitely make sure it can go through there. And then the little fringe work here, that's not a straight line, so I need to account for that. And I just want to make sure I have plenty here. So I'm just going to add a little bit more. Again, thread your needle on, and you're going to have to incorporate this thread into your beadwork. And this time I want you coming out, exiting this little bead right here. Again, leave that tail long enough to incorporate back in. And I've still got another tail I got to work back in later. This is a lot of steps to do this design, to be honest. I think it's lovely when it comes out, and it actually does not take that long, but you are having to do a bunch of different steps. It's not just like do a even count peyote or something like that. You know, you're kind of having to work with the beads and go back through them multiple times, incorporate new threads, but the result's really pretty, and hopefully it'll be a springboard for you to create some of your own designs doing beadwork like this. Okay, so there I am. I'm going down that bugle, and I'm going to go through this bead here, and I'm right where I want to be now. Okay. So at this point, I'm going to, here's some of the beads I'm going to be using for this step. And again, I'll need more beads than what I have here, but I just want to show you the different types. And they're all from that original selection I showed you at the beginning of the video. Okay, to join our little segments of bugle beads, we are going to take 3 11-0 delicas and then just connect them to the next bugle bead segment, going through that little 2.5 millimeter bead, just like so. Now we've got a gap here. We're going to fill that with 1 seed bead, 1 little 2.5 millimeter round, and 1 6 millimeter bicone. We're going to repeat that on the other side of the bicone. So another little round bead and another little seed bead. There we go. Okay, I'm going to show you this one more time, and then I want you to do it for the entire length of your necklace. And then I'll come back and I'll show you how to add the final little fringe to it. So we got 3 of the delicas. Now we need to add a delica, a round, a bicone, another round, and another delica. Now we're just connecting through these little beads on the tips of the bugle beads. There you go. So hopefully you can see how that's starting to form. And just do that the entire length. And then we're going to add the last final little decorative element, and then I'll explain to you about the clasp. This is where you should be at now. You've finished the segment with the larger bicone beads, and now we just need to add this final element along the edge. To do that, you should have, when you finish this stretch here, you should be exiting the last small little round bead attached to your bugles. And what we're going to do is we're going to pick up 3 delicas, a 4mm bicone, and 3 more delicas. So you're going to have those on your needle. You're going to slide them down, and then you're going to go up through the little delica, which is on the other side of this diagonal segment with the bugle beads. It's probably the best way to describe it. So you're just going to go up through it. Now at this point, you're going to see how that tension came a little loose. At this point, you're just going to want to make sure that that tension's nice and tight just by pulling it. So we made that first little segment. So now we're going to retrace our steps, and we're going to go back through these beads here until we exit the little delica bead. Okay, make sure your tension's good. You can see I'm pulling it. And now we need to do another little segment of delicas and a 4mm bicone. So again, 3 on your needle, a bicone, 3 more, slide that down and go up through the delica, and there'll be the other beads too, so if you can go through more than one at a time, great. All the way through to that delica on the other side of the round beads, but before you get to your bugles. And pull. So you're making a little pointed arrow beneath your bugle bead, so you can see how this makes a nice darted arrow shape. I'm going to do one more, and then I'm going to talk to you about the clasp, because you'll just continue this all the way along the way. So 3 bicone, 3, skip over all those bugles and go into the delica on the outside of them. There you go. And just pull. So that is how you're going to finish the actual decorative beading of your bracelet. So to make the clasp, you'll need to watch 2 different videos. One is how to make a beaded bead, and that's going to show you how to make a beaded bead with bicones or rounds, and you're going to use the same technique. Just use your Miyuki 11-0 delicas. And then to make the loop and then attach your beaded bead, you're going to need to watch the video how to make a loop and button clasp, and then that secures it as the clasp. You can see I just attached it right to my beadwork via 2 delicas, same size, and then over here you can see how the clasp is just a loop of beads, and I just wove its tail back into my beadwork. But that is what your finished project looks like. Here's the bracelet, and then you can probably assume what the necklace is going to look like. It's just a longer version of this exact same pattern. So I know this was a long video. I know it's a lot of different steps. It's a fun project. Just be patient. It actually does not take too terribly long once you get into it, and just go step by step in following the directions in this video to make this project. You can find both these projects on our website. One is the Isabella collar necklace and the other is Isabella bracelet, where you can find full ingredient lists, all the different quantities of the beads you're going to use, and everything else you'll need to know for these particular projects.